Well, I'll try and be brief with this. It's the 2nd of February 2021. Largely in response to my friend John Edwards and no doubt many others who are interested in the subject. I was asking an open question almost. Did God provide parables, especially when we're talking about creation? I'm not saying the whole Bible certainly, but did he do so to help explain to an uneducated people, in other words, talking about the first humans, no schools and no universities and so on, did he do that to make it so that we could understand it? Now, I've concluded that is in fact what happened, and as it turns out in my men's group at church, I talked about the subject and it wasn't criticised or poo-hooed or no, it's just a reasonable thought, and that is, how do I conclude that? I conclude it primarily because the way it is written, it's as if the earth was created first and then the rest of the universe, and then from that point, in other words, and I talked to it was now the senior pastor at our church, Tim Spark, about it, and I said after church one day, just as part of the conversation, surely you don't accept this empty universe theory, do you? Oh, I do. He said, oh yes, I do. In other words, there's only earth, and there's heaven, there's God, there's angels, and so on, and we have a relationship with God through Jesus, and so forth, and that's all there is, and the rest of the universe is there and empty. And then you get people who say, oh, because it's hundreds of millions of light years, they can't travel here. Well, I contend that God filled his universe with life, and that some of them became highly advanced and were able to overcome time and space, and they can therefore travel. But further on the, I guess you could call it the parable, I should say. The point about it is, you can't have a situation where the earth could be the centre of the universe and the beginning, shall we say, when we know better that it's not, and we know that the earth is only just on an outer arm of a very standard sort of spiral galaxy. And then we get into the subject of, you're talking about life and everything else, and I don't want to go long-winded on that, but in the next few months, as part of a law that was signed by President Trump about this COVID-19 and the money to be spent and all that sort of thing, part of it is they're going to have a full report back, in other words, to the people about what does the government know about things like UFOs and by extension aliens and so forth within 180 days, to use their quaint terminology. So we're looking at May or June at the latest, in other words. So all of the lies and the cover-ups and the carry-on will be swept aside, and the whole world will basically get the story. So if I'm wrong about that and fizzles out to nothing, well, that's the way it goes, because I'm really now talking in a sense about these parables that just doesn't fit the science. Now, it was worked for 2,000 plus years, that's fine, but it doesn't fit. And it was done to explain to people how things came into existence. Now, you could go on and ask all sorts of questions out of all of that, like why would God say he did something on day 1 and day 2 and day 3 and so on if he really didn't? I can't answer that. It's impossible to answer that. I agree, but it just doesn't fit, and it's no good in the 21st century to say, oh look, all the astrophysicists are wrong, And oh, by the way, the whole universe is only about 6,000 years old, and they're all wrong. Never mind the 13 point something billion light years distance, so we can see, need light to see. And never mind the fact that they say it's only 4 point something billion years that our galaxies and our planet came into existence. For that to be so, they must be all completely and utterly wrong. And I just accept that the science has pointed that they're correct. Now, it doesn't mean I believe in evolution. I am a Christian. But I say that evolution can't exist without God. In other words, if God decided to fill the universe with evolution, pre-programmed, shall we say, it wouldn't matter if it took 3 or 4 billion years for it to evolve. It's fine by me. He may well have created life throughout the universe already in existence. In other words, just from bang, you're there, nothing yesterday and there's something there today. I don't know how all that's possible, but I don't deny that it has happened. But I do suggest to people also who are scholars or are interested in the subject, look into Sumerian history. Look up who are the Anunnaki and look up their history, because their history is it shows that they're the oldest civilization in the world that has a written language, and the Anunnaki are in there. Now, I won't go into all the long-winded details about that, but then all of a sudden these people got advanced science, they have advanced mathematics, they have a written language, they have advanced medicine at the time, and etc., etc. Their writings, there's 500,000 scrolls, or things that they wrote on, tablets or whatever. And they do mention the flood, so that's interesting. I think, okay, Sumerians knew about that, and they wrote it all down. And the Egyptians, by the way, on that subject, we're talking about parables. If the Egyptians, they had basically a births, deaths and marriages registry. They had their whole history written down. Now, the interesting thing about their history was that they have no recorded information as to how the pyramids arrived. In other words, the civilization arrived when the pyramids were already there, somehow. But they should show the 10 plagues of the Bible and all of that. And I'm not a scholar, so I don't know how to delve into all of that. But if they do show that as part of the history, and it's important, very, very important part of the history, having the Jews there and all the rest of it, and in Syria, today's modern days Iran, and all this sort of thing, that should all be recorded anyway on other people's history. And that brings me round to saying a couple of things. Riccio Kaku, who is the greatest physicist and one of the great minds of today, has said a God. He doesn't have a personal relationship with God, but he said a God created the universe, and I can prove it without a shadow of a doubt. Well, sorry about that, guys. Obviously got a flat battery or something, but I wanted to try and conclude this right now, you might say, very soon. So I was trying to explain about that thinking, or revelation, shall we say, by Riccio Kaku. It was very, very well respected astrophysicist who says there is a God, as he put it, created the universe. It was great. But then if you're an atheist, or you think the Bible's nonsense, I can assure you it's not, but yes, it could well be some parables. That's what I believe helps explain it. As I say, I can't take it literally the way some people do. But if you're in doubt, or you don't know anything about all this sort of thing, another thing that comes to mind is there's a book and there's videos out on YouTube. Lee Strobel is the guy I'm trying to think of. He wrote a book, The Case for Christ, and it's excellent. But it just really opens your mind. It makes you see all the evidence. And my interests and my things that I'm so interested in life, you might say, anyway, and including my faith, is evidence-based. It's where's all the evidence for one thing or another? Can I put to you like that? So I've covered the subject, but I'm just hopeful to get some civil and polite response from people. And as I said, sorry about the battery going flat on the first section of this. And I would welcome some debate and discussion. So thanks very much for viewing.